Hi all. So in this session, I'll be covering what variables in Python is. So in our last session, I showed you how exactly we are basically adding two numbers or subtracting two numbers. So we, as you would remember that I am always initializing a variable. Say for example, in our current scenario, as you can see on the screen, I hope you're able to see. Uh, So say for example I have to add two numbers, say 3 and 4. So one way is to just go and add 3 plus 4. Okay. Now if you want to make the code more generic, or say for example in a day-to-day scenario when you actually end up writing code, you won't be simply adding it like this, like in any other calculator. What you will do is that you will initialize variables. Say for example, I am initializing x as 3, y as 4. Yeah, y is 4, and now if I add x and y, I'll get 7, which is exactly same how we ended up adding 3 and 4 directly. Now, we can also have a variable, say for example z, which is not a number, rather it is a string. Okay. Now if I add x and z, it will throw me an error. It will say that you cannot end up adding an integer and string. Okay, you can see it here. It is not allowing you to add an integer and string. So what is happening here is that we are declaring different variables like z with a string value, whereas an x is a 3, and if you try to add x plus z, the Python won't allow you to add it because you are trying to add an integer and a string, which is definitely not possible. You can also initialize a variable, say a, with a float value, say 3.44. Now if you try to add x plus a, you will see a value coming in. Where exactly what is happening here is we are ending up adding 3.44, which is a float value, and an integer which is 3. So this is quite feasible. Um, so this is how we basically initial declare variables in Python. One important thing is, in other languages, for any variables to happen, you have to first initialize it and then declare it. But here in Python, this is a special property of Python wherein we can simply declare it at the first place. Now we can replace the value of x, which is now 3, to say x is equal to 5. Now if you add x plus y, you will see the value is now 9. So now we have replaced x with x, x's value from 3 to 5. So this is how we declare variables in Python. So this is the interactive mode, what I taught in the last session. But coming back to our original uh, this batch mode, I'll select Python as the language, and say for example quickly I'll just reiterate exactly what I showed you in the interactive mode. So here we'll declare x as x3, y as 4, and now what we are doing is, say for example we have a new variable. So basically what I'm trying to show you here is that we can create variables out of variables. Okay, and now if we print this z and say we save this as mm, as session 2.py, and go to command prompt, exit from here, and run python session2.py. You will see the sum coming up as 7. So 3 plus 4 is 7. Now if we say we replace y with a string like xyz and try to add x plus y. Okay. Save this, go to command prompt, run this. As you can see, it showed you the first value, which is correct. But when I try to implement this x plus y, okay, the same error that we encountered earlier appeared again. So basically here again it is trying to add one integer and a string, which is not supported. So this is pretty much what variables in Python is. Also, as you can see here, I have created a third variable which has the value of the summation of these two variables, whereas here I'm directly putting it in the print statement. So we can do, instead of creating a third variable here, we can do it directly here in the print statement, like x plus y. It basically would yield the same result. Okay. See, again we see 7 and then that error that we encountered. Okay. Now say for example, we have a condition wherein we have to basically print xyz 3. That is y, that is y plus x. But here the catch is, if we just keep it this the way we have just kept it here, it will show this same error, unsupported operand type. That is, it cannot add an integer or string. So in order to achieve this solution, xyz3, Python gives you a concept known as casting. So what we can do here is, we can basically do y plus, and we can cast x as a string. So you can see now x is a integer, no doubt, but we are casting it to be a string. And then if you add string and a string, the final result would be the concatenation of that both strings. So I'll show you. Now I'll save this. I'll go back to command prompt. I'll just run this. So yes, you can see. Now it is printing XYZ3. This is exactly what we wanted to display. So a brief summary of what exactly we covered. We covered how we can declare variables in Python. A variable could be integer, a variable could be a string, a variable could be a float value as well. But we cannot add a string and a float value, or a string and a integer value. But in order to achieve something like this, we can use the concept of casting in Python. So here what exactly we are doing? We are casting the integer as a string and then concatenating with a string, that is XYZ. And once we execute that, we'll get our requirement. Okay. So that is all for this session. Uh, Thank you.